Welcome to Seize the Mains by Raj Malhotra's IS Academy. I'm Surbhi Sirdana and this is Season 3 of our Daily Answer Writing Initiative. The topic for today is lead poisoning in India. The question for today is here. Briefly discuss the issue of lead poisoning amongst Indian population. एक recent report आई है CSIR, Council for Scientific and Industrial Research and Niti Aayog. Both these organizations got together and they brought a report on lead poisoning in India. So with regards to that, this question has been put up. If you have not covered this issue, then refer to our weekly current affairs session for environment and science and technology that is available on our YouTube channel of the same date. आज का जो हमारा सेशन था environment science and technology weekly current affairs का, please उसे refer कीजिए. There we have discussed this issue entirely in detail. The second part of this question is highlight the role of social inequalities as a cause for rising lead poisoning in various groups of Indian population. So again, answer in 250 words. This question can come in your GS1 paper, your GS2 paper or your GS3 paper where your environment and science and technology are covered, and in GS1 and GS2 where parts of society or social issues have been taken, put into syllabus. So this is a very important question. थोड़ा सा twisted आपको लग रहा होगा that what is the role of social inequalities in as a cause for rising lead poisoning in various groups of Indian population. So there was a report, there was an article on the swaddle.com. The link is available on our website. The link to that article is available on our website where they have compiled data of various reports which shows that the poorer the people are, the more exposed or the more vulnerable they are to lead poisoning. So also, as you know, this initiative Seize the Mains runs in coordination with our website, which is rajisacademy.com. The link is there in the description. On our website, in the mains answer writing section, if you click, you will see a series of questions, you will see a list of questions, and you can, by clicking on the question for today, you can post your answer in the comment section for this question. And our team will evaluate your answers entirely free of cost. Let's start with writing the answer. Let's start with part 1. That is, briefly discuss the issue of lead poisoning amongst Indian population. So let's talk about what is lead, where is it found, how is it generated, how it is created, and what are the side effects, what are the drawbacks of having lead in your food, water or cosmetics. So first of all, lead is a naturally occurring toxic metal found in the earth's crust. Why are we defining what is lead? Why are we telling about this? Because you want to make things very much clear to the examiner. In the introduction, write 2-3 lines about lead poisoning first, then talk about the issue, that is your first part of the answer. So our 2 to 3 lines will talk about what has been asked in the question. Lead poisoning. This is your subject matter here. So this is your topic of interest here. So we'll be talking about lead poisoning first. Lead is a naturally occurring toxic metal found in the earth's crust. Its widespread use has resulted in an extensive environmental contamination, human exposure and significant public health problems. This term is very important, public health problems in many parts of the world. So now you've given a general introduction about the topic that examiner has confronted you with. So important sources of environmental contamination come from mining, smelting, manufacturing and recycling activities and use in a wide range of products. So lead is there in your cosmetics, it is there in your batteries that we use in cars or other automobiles. It is present at most of the places. So in the body paragraph 1, what we'll do? Now we'll talk about the issue of lead poisoning amongst Indian population. So when you have to talk about the issue of lead poisoning amongst Indian population, you will have you should have some data at hand. You should have some policy of the government that the government has come up with to fight this problem, and also you should have the drawbacks. What are the drawbacks, or what is the current status of the situation? That should be very clear to you. That will make your 4 to 5 lines in body paragraph 2. So 3 lines of introduction, 4 to 5 lines of body paragraph 1, and your half of the answer would be done. Then we will continue to talk about the rest of the answer. So deaths due to lead poisoning have continued to rise in India. That's how you're starting with it. A recent government report, here we are talking about the report of Niti Aayog and CSIR, includes battery recycling, occupational sources such as lead mining, smelting, welding, soldering and automobile repatriating. Here automobiles have lead acid batteries, so that's why these are the sources of lead. Other inconspicuous sources, inconspicuous which is not seen easily, they include your adulterated spices. So adulterated spices would be a cheaper option to buy, so they will be available to the poor population. Cosmetics and traditional medicines. Now from here your actual body paragraph 1 is starting. India accounted for, also this part talks about sources and some issues. You can directly from this line move to this line if you think that your answer is going too long. So here is our data that India accounted for these many cases out of the total 800 million children suffering from lead poisoning all over the world, according to a 2020 UNICEF report. And this data indicates that half of India's children were poisoned by lead. So that is a staggering number. That is a very crucial data. That is very important information for us. Not only this, a UNICEF report also noted that lead poisoning shaved off an estimated 5% of your GDP on an annual level. तो annually आपका जो 5% GDP है वो कम हो रहा है क्योंकि people are infected by lead. जो lead से infected हैं, they are, they are diseased people, they are a burden on your health infrastructure, and they would have gotten into jobs or produced something had they been healthy individuals. तो वो काम ना करके they are just either dying at an early age or are ending up in hospitals. So that's why your GDP is suffering, your economic prosperity is suffering. So that has been highlighted that 5% of India's GDP due to lower economic productivity and reduced lifetime earnings is reduced. It also caused 230,000 premature deaths in India. So that is the issue. This here you have highlighted the issue of lead poisoning in India according to the sources and the data, that how bad it is, how it is bad for the economy as well. Now moving to body paragraph 2 and talking about the role of social inequalities in lead poisoning. So here give some space after your body paragraph 1 and write down this point, and after this point directly start your body paragraph 2. So here we will be highlighting what is the role of social inequalities, whether social inequalities with regards to gender, with regards to where they are staying, their residence, their race. Racism is not prevalent in India, but yes, one point has been discussed from that perspective also, and according to the class structure, whether they come from a poor class or a lower middle class, what are the category wise differentiations which are available, and how which population is more vulnerable to lead poisoning. So first point is, while cases of lead poisoning can be found across the world, it disproportionately affects vulnerable populations in low and middle income countries. Here we are talking about, here we are bringing the focus to India according to data. So the country accounts for 26% of annual global deaths. Again, this can be a general point also, since in the question we are asked about to talk about with respect to India or in context of India. So you can start your body paragraph 2 with this particular line and ignore this part. So write this line. After that, the more vulnerable groups, mostly pregnant women and children, are most affected. This has been seen according to data. In fact, children absorb at least 4 to 5 times more lead as compared to older people. So this is your women and children which are more vulnerable. Second, social inequalities play a significant role in determining which sections of population suffer the highest exposure to lead, either due to the occupations they are engaged in or the environment they inhabit, where they are staying, or due to the occupation. For example, people involved in waste segregation, they are more exposed to lead poisoning. And also not just waste segregation but recycling of lead acid batteries which are present in your automobiles. There is an NGO called Pure Earth. So the NGO Pure Earth estimated that over 50% of batteries in India are recycled in the informal sector. So if they are recycled in the informal sector, that means that these people who are working in that sector do not have jobs in the organized sector, or do not have access to jobs in the organized sector because they are not skilled enough. If they are not skilled enough, they probably do not come from a very good economic background, which implies the poor people based in poor states are affected the most. A report prepared recently by Niti Aayog and CSIR indicated that these 7 states, Bihar, UP, Madhya Pradesh, Jharkhand, Chhattisgarh and Andhra Pradesh, had the highest blood levels of lead amongst all the Indian states, which is around 40% of India's population. Next, not just these people, there are some people who live close to recycling sites or waste segregation sites. Obviously, then you can predict that they are not very well off. They also come in the lower income or poor category. So these poor and marginalized population who are living close to toxic sites, they suffer greater exposure as well. Lead exposure is increased by residential segregation, concentrated poverty, discrimination in housing markets. You know, only a certain section of population can afford housing in a totally clean and planned area, whichever city or town you talk about. Other people have to live in compromising situations. Either the sewage disposal is not proper, or near your house an industry is located which is releasing a very high amount of toxic chemicals on a daily basis. So this is the discrimination in housing markets. Neighborhood disinvestment and a limited array of options for tenants seeking to remove lead from their environments. They have also pointed out to racial disparities in health risks posed by local lead contamination. Also, the last point, that unequal exposure patterns can also lead to intergenerational poverty, because if the parent has been affected by lead exposure or lead poisoning, there are high chances that lead poisoning might travel to the fetus as well and to the next generation as well. So it leads to intergenerational poverty. One, because since the parent or guardian was infected by lead poisoning, hence they cannot support or supposedly support their family economically to rise above the to get into social mobility. Secondly, because of the health factors or biological factors also, the children will be more likely to be affected due to previous lead exposures, where the cognitive effects of lead pollution may make it difficult for people to rise out of poverty through education or even through formal employment. So lead basically affects our nervous system. So even if one person in the family gets affected, it travels down generations. In the conclusion, you can say that there are strong links between lead poisoning and poverty. So that is a vicious cycle, that poor people are getting affected by lead poisoning, and lead poisoning is keeping them poor. It is not, allowing them to rise above poverty. So tying economic insecurities along with limited social, physical or health protections with greater exposure to sources of pollution. And obviously you have to give a way forward. So just write down that there is an immediate need for policy changes at the national and state levels, and also at the local level, given the severity of this type of menace, the health issue that we are tackling with. Identifying at-risk population, investigating sources, training healthcare personnel to detect and treat lead poisoning, and strengthening research in order to identify new sources are some of the solutions that you have for ahead. So this is your entire answer for today. A little longer than 250 words, but I'm sure with some practice you will be able to shorten down this content and finish your answer within 250 words or 220 to 230 words to be safe, to be considered safe for proper evaluation. The entire answer will be uploaded on our website tomorrow. By that time, go through the video again, or just go through the text that is being shared here. Try to write your own answer, go through the current affairs articles that have been coming up with regards to the report of Niti Aayog and CSIR. This is a very serious issue. If you find out some cases in your local neighborhood also, through which you can generate examples to be put in your answer, inculcate those points in your answer for sure. Share your answers with us as soon as possible so that our team can evaluate them. The older the answer, the lesser chances there are that our team will will be able to carry out that evaluation. So share your answers, post them on rajaiasacademy.com. Stay tuned to our channel and keep working hard. All the best.